And just letting, hi Mel, good morning, and letting yourself settle down onto your backs. So palms over the eyes if you like. So maybe just another cycle of breath with your palms over your eyes, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then from here, what I'd like you to do is bring your arms out at shoulder height to rest on the floor. So take your arms wide. And then just see how it feels. So what you're doing here is you're letting your arms settle down. You're letting your arms feel heavy, and you're just noticing how this feels. So this is sort of noticing how it feels, and there's a letting the arms be heavy and feeling the breath move through your body. I'm just going to grab my water. Oh, let Sarah in, grab my water while you're having a couple more breaths there. Have a lovely, yeah, it's one of those mornings, isn't it? Do you need some water, Sarah? You've got some. Okay, brilliant. You're up the end where Penny is, and there's no mats there because I know you've got your own. No, don't worry. Otto, no, on your bed. Right. So Sarah, we're going to be taking our arms like this. So yeah, be right in the middle of the room where you won't have space. So from having your arms wide at shoulder height, you're then going to come and cross your arms over your chest. Good. And just that's it. So as if you're giving yourself a hug. And see how that feels for a few cycles of breath. And what you're noticing is, how does this feel in the shoulders? How does it feel in the upper back? And how does it feel to just sort of let yourself settle down and focus on your breathing? And in a moment, you're going to bring your arms out onto the floor. Penny, if you give yourself a hug like this, so one arm's completely on top, that's the one, yeah. So we're going to bring your arms back onto the floor wide, but you're going to take them a little bit higher up, towards, yeah, a bit nearer to your head, but not all the way up there. So if you were thinking about maybe where your arms were previously, and then you could have your arms right up by your ears, and I want you to be sort of halfway. Okay, that's it. Yeah, and just see, can your arms settle down here? How does it feel? Are your palms turned up or turned down? Yes, probably most comfortable to have the palms turned up. And just, again, notice how this feels in the shoulders, and also how does it feel in the upper back? So we're asking the underarms to open quite a lot here. This is sort of, yes, I was just thinking, if the last position our arms were in was like 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, this is, we've gone up to, gosh, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock with the arms. Good. And so just give yourself another couple of breaths there. Yeah, I would probably be lying with my knees bent, but some of you have got your legs long, so whichever's more comfy. And then once more, come back and cross your arms over your chest and give yourself a hug, and just have a couple of breaths. So it doesn't matter which arm's on top. If you can remember which arm you had on top last time, you could alternate this time. And then this time, when you just have a couple more breaths with your arms crossed over your chest. And then this time, when you bring your arms back onto the floor, you're going to take them nearer to your head, nearer to your ears, but you still need to be able to rest the arms down. So you might start with the arms near to your head, but then you might actually then slide them out away from your head, because you want your elbows to be able to rest on the ground. That's it. So Sarah, you might find, what's it like if you take your arms up nearer to your head? Yeah. So you might have to put, yeah, you might play around with this one a little bit to see where can you have the arms on the floor near the head, but the arms can still rest down. And sometimes this can feel really quite strong in the shoulders and the underarms and the upper back. So if you're in a place and you've had a few breaths and it's feeling worse rather than better, that's a sign that maybe you need to slide your arms a bit wider, because usually as we're there and settling, things feel a little bit better. So we're thinking about giving the weight of the arms to the floor, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave. And then one of the things we're going to do, hopefully, is do some more as we move through different movements, and we'll come back to these arm positions at the end and see how they feel. So when you're ready, when you've had another couple of breaths with your arms resting on the floor by your head, you're then going to cross your arms over your chest one more time. And this time you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And you're going to start to rock side to side across the back of your body. So start to let your knees and your elbows and your head all tilt to the right and tilt to the left. That's it, Penny. Let the upper body join in as well. So that's it, head and elbows rocking to the right and to the left. Sarah, if it gets too warm for you up there, let me know. I've got windows open and heating on. Good. That's it. So in your own time, just carry on rocking from side to side, feeling that you're giving yourself a bit of a massage across the back of your body. It can be a small movement, it can be a larger movement. Very nice. And then you're going to pause in the center whenever you've had enough of that one. You're going to uncross your arms and fold your knees into your chest. Good. And when you folded your knees into your chest, just do whatever you like at this point. Be a little bit of rocking, a little bit of circling around the back of your pelvis. That's nice, smell a bit of happy baby. You could also do a bit of taking your legs up to the ceiling and giving them a shake out. Good. Yeah. So if you haven't taken your legs up to the ceiling and given them a shake out and you want to, and you could add your arms in, do so. Good. And then we're going to do one more thing on our back. So when you come back down, I'd like you to lengthen your legs out on the floor. We're just going to have a sort of stretch. Lengthen your legs out on the floor and then take your arms up by the sides of your ears and interlink your fingers. So you're going to do a sort of long stretch. If you can interlink your fingers, you don't have to, but just sort of see, can you interlink your fingers? Can you stretch into your heels and then turn the palms of your hands away from the top of your head? You've just got this long feeling of a stretch. So Sheila, you could be taking your arms up by the side of your head, interlinking you, or maybe you are actually, sorry, maybe it's my poor eyesight. Yes, you are. And stretching like that. Obviously, don't do anything that's going to cause you discomfort. Good. So stretch and release. And then in a moment, we're going to be coming over, and we're going to be coming into dog pose. So it might be that you just want to roll onto your side, have a couple of breaths on your side. And then coming onto hands and knees when you're ready. So I was thinking that, you know, in dog pose, we're doing the same movement we did in the arms. And obviously we've got these choices with dog pose. So if it was hard to bring this close to your head, it's probably quite good to have your hands wide apart on your mat. What we're going to do is we're going to do dog pose. We're going to come into a forward bend and do our weeping willow movements and then back into dog pose. So it gives us a couple, it's just a little mini sequence. So on hands and knees, so settling your hands down. And again, just thinking about how your shoulders felt. If the shoulders, it was hard to bring the arms near to your head, have your hands nice and wide. Tucking your toes under, exhaling, coming up into dog pose and just seeing what you find in your dog. And it might be because of those arm things we've done that actually the shoulders in dog might feel a little bit easier. The legs might feel tight. So you might want to do a bit of bending one knee, bending the other. Good. Looks very nice in the shoulders there, Aditi. Letting the head go. Good. Good. And if you're happy in this dog pose, have another few breaths. When you feel that you want to move out of dog pose, you're going to be walking your hands in towards your feet and coming into a forward bend. So it's probably when you want to come out of dog, it's that point when you want to take the weight out of your arms. And perhaps give yourself a moment in your forward bend just to see, how do you feel? How does your lower back feel? If your lower back feels a bit tight, you might want to bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs. If you want some movement in your forward bend, even if you want some movement in your forward bend, I was mentioning that sort of weeping willow movement where we're sweeping our arms from side to side around our feet. Imagine that we're, yes, sort of beautiful branches of a weeping willow trailing in the river. So it's really up to you. And again, it might be that you want to do some of those side to side sweeping movements and then just have a couple of quiet breaths, folding forwards in the center. Again, you could be resting your elbows on your thighs if you like. Good. And from your forward bend, you're going to be walking your hands back into another dog pose. And when we come into dog pose in this way, we've got to make that judgment about where do we stop when we're walking forward. So it might be that you walk a little way and you have a few breaths, and you might then say, okay, what's it like to do a slightly longer dog pose by walking your hands a little bit further forwards? And I'm just thinking, oh, I'm not sure about that, but I might walk my hands in a little bit. So you have got that possibility of just having a little bit of a play around with how long your dog pose is. And from this dog, you stay there as long as you like. Noticing how your shoulders feel. Yeah, it looks very nice in the shoulders. Good. And then from this dog pose, you're going to fold down into child pose. And just let yourself settle in child. And you can gather your attention into your breathing. You can also feel the weight of your body settling on the ground. And often I find it's only when I come into child pose that I sort of fully arrive in this position, the sort of position where the belly is facing the ground. So have a couple of breaths there. You're coming into kneeling, sitting on your heels, like you are, Mel, very nicely. And some of you are going to be coming into an up kneeling position. So, okay, just decide which is better for you, whether it's better to be up or, yeah, up here or sitting down on your heels. Yeah. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a little bit of turning from side to side, swinging our arms. And I often find if I'm up on my knees, then I quite like doing the sort of swinging one like this. And if I'm sitting on my heels, and it's again up to you, I might like to just sort of turn and stay. But you can do a bit of both. So turn and stay. And you can turn and stay when you're up here as well. And if you're staying, just try and let the back shoulder and back arm be relaxed, or the front arm as well. Good. And turning in both directions. So when we do these kneeling twists, it's about the movement of our spine between our shoulder blades. You might turn in each direction once more. And so we might have felt movement in this part of our body when we were moving our arms on our back. But here it's about the movement of the spine with the arms just being passive. Or actually here, they're not passive, are they? We're swinging them. Anyway, from here, let's come on to hands and knees. And I'd like you to start with, we usually start with cat, but I'd like you to start with a bit of tail wagging. So a bit of imagining you have a tail and wagging your tail from side to side. And you could also try the variation where you just swing one leg out to the side, the lower leg. So your knee is on the ground, that's it. And then you look towards that foot. And you repeat the same thing on you repeat it on the same side a few times. Yeah, that's it. And then of course you do the same thing on the other side. That's it. So you look along the outside of your body towards your foot, or the outside of your arm, maybe. So does that make sense? So if you're looking at your foot, you're sort of looking around your arm. That's it. It's just trying to get your head involved in the movement as well. And you could be like you were doing, Sarah. You could be doing the swinging both legs to the side and looking at them. And obviously don't go so quickly that you're making yourself dizzy. I mean, you can swing both legs to the side quite quickly, from side to side quite quickly, but I just wouldn't look at them. Otherwise I'll start to feel a bit ill. And then if you like, you can just do some cat movements as well. So a few times, how does it feel to round and dip in cat pose? Good. Very nice. In a moment, we're going to be coming on into dog pose and up into standing. I'm just thinking you might want to give your wrists a little rest. So maybe before we come into dog, just drop down onto your forearms and your elbows and do a little bit of cat or a little bit of tail wagging on your forearms. And then we'll be able to come up comfortably into dog pose. Yeah, it's quite a nice place to round your back to the ceiling, the rounded up cat. The dipping down one I never find quite as comfy. Yes, or puppy pose, Sarah. Is that what we did last Monday? So yeah, exactly. So yes, if any of you, if Sarah's doing puppy pose, which we did last Monday, if you wanted to revisit your puppy pose, that's where you, yeah, that's nice. That's it, Penny, yeah, you're letting your chest dip down to the floor. And then in your own time, you're going to come through dog pose and a forward bend and up into standing. So again, when you come back onto hands and knees, just think about if your shoulders are feeling a bit stiff, take the hands wide apart. So just like when we're on our backs, it means we don't have to have our arms right by our ears if the shoulders are feeling a bit tight today. And again, it's up to you how long you stay in dog, how long you stay in your forward bend. And whenever you like, rolling up into standing. You're still right temperature-wise, though, is it getting hot? Yeah, I sort of think that we've reached that point. Actually had the heating on last night for the first time. Good, yes, so very nice. Arriving in standing whenever you're ready. And we're gonna, yeah. Once you've arrived, we're going to do our loose swinging twist. Letting our arms swing, slapping on the body if you like. So that's nice. Think about if you've got lots of space, which we all do, think about just trying to let the arms be nice and loose and free. And also noticing how does this feel? So how does this feel in the shoulders? How does it feel in the upper back? It might all feel fine. But I know sometimes people have said to me, gosh, this is the one that I really feel in my upper back. And I might feel it as well. And I'm feeling particularly tight there. Okay, couple more times. And then we'll let this go and we'll come to a movement where we're focusing a bit more in on each shoulder. And it's a different sort of movement than the movements we've been doing. So we're going to think about doing these big circles. Yeah, with one arm at a time, where we let our body move. So we're not, that's it, we're, exactly. So start with one arm and just work with that arm a few times, and maybe start with your good arm if there's a bad arm. And you can circle one way. So there's backwards, a sort of backstroke, isn't there? And then there's front crawl. So Do a bit of each, and just make sure whatever you're doing, you're not wrenching your shoulder. You're letting your pelvis move. You're letting the whole of your body move, but particularly your pelvis. Good. We're just trying to get these sort of nice, big swinging movements. Good. And it might be that you then want to move on to the second arm. You can always come back and do a little bit more if you like on that first one. So, you know, and if you've got one arm that is a bit problematic, these circles could just be much smaller. So you can do the one which is a bit the sort of front crawl one. Remember to let your pelvis move. It's fine if your feet move. And then swinging back the other way, the back crawl one. Okay. Perhaps just come back to your first arm and maybe just a couple of times, once in each direction, twice in each direction. And then if you want to, just do the second arm again once or twice in each direction. And then we'll let those go. And then from here, you're going to come back into your forward bend, and you're going to come back into those weeping willow movements, if you like. So sinking into your heels, folding forwards, and yeah, if you like, sweeping your arms from side to side. Again, I think it just really depends on how your back feels, whether you want to do those sweeping movements. So you can, yeah, sweep your arms from side to side. You could have a few quiet breaths in the center. You could be bending your knees, resting your elbows on your thighs. And as well as sweeping your arms, make sure you're letting your head go. Sometimes it's hard to think about both the arms and the head. I find good. So if you're in your forward bend, have a couple more breaths and then sinking into your heels, rolling up into standing. And as you come up into standing, I'd like you to then sort of trail your fingers up towards the ceiling and just do a bit of that reaching into one arm and reaching into the other. And I was thinking about this because I think, Sheila, you often do one arm at a time, which is quite nice. So you don't have to have both arms up all the time if this one is challenging. So you could be reaching into one arm, reaching into the other, or you could have both arms up and just do a bit of reaching. And again, just it's that sort of stretchy feeling. You could also, what's it like if you're looking up? Make sure your neck is happy with that, but you could be looking up a little bit. Good. And then from here, when you've had enough of this one, you're going to just all the way sweep your arms back down and around into another forward bend. And you might just like to be quiet in this forward bend for a couple of breaths. We're not going to be there that long. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. Good. Very nice. And then sinking into your heels, rolling back up into standing. When you arrive up in standing, just give your legs a little shake out. We're going to come to thinking about the feet for a moment and then come back to adding the arms in. So the first thing you're going to do is this one where we're just seeing how does it feel to shift our weight forwards onto the balls of our feet and coming up and down. And at this point, just keep your arms nice and relaxed by your sides, if possible. Good. Great. And then what was I going to say? Yes, and then just if you can find your balance and stay there, then you're just going to sort of sneak your arms up wherever it's comfortable to have them. And let your shoulders soften as much as you can. And see if you can have a couple of breaths there. Good. Okay, come back down, give the legs a little shake out. We'll just do a slightly different variation of that one now. So you're going to come back and balance on the balls of your feet, like you did. And again, let your arms come up. So sort of sneak your arms up and have a couple of breaths there with your arms up by your sides. And then what you're going to do is take your arms to shoulder height and just see how that feels. What's it like to balance with the arms at shoulder height? Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. Could be with your palms facing up, or it could be with your palms facing forward. Good. And then from there, come down. Give your arms a shake out, give your legs a shake out, and then just come onto the tops of your toes. One foot at a time. I'm holding onto the wall here. So if you need to hold onto the wall for this, it's fine. So one at a time, maybe do this a couple of times on each side. So go one foot, the other foot, and then back again. Just come onto the top of the toes. You can straighten your standing knee. That might make your foot a bit crampy. Same thing on the other side. Okay, good. And then we're going to do one more little sequence. What we're going to do is that same balance on the balls of our feet. We're going to start with the hands in prayer pose. We're going to take the arms up. You could touch, you can touch them in prayer pose. Arms up, then wide, then finishing in prayer pose. Okay. So so I'll talk you through that. But start with the hands in prayer pose and just see how that feels in terms of bringing your weight onto the balls of your feet and balancing. So it might be easier with the hands there. And then keeping the hands in prayer pose, you can then take the arms up towards the ceiling. You could have a cycle of breath with the hands in prayer pose over your head, but then take your hands apart, take your arms wide, and then that's right, Penny. And then from there, you can bring your arms down to shoulder height. Have a couple of breaths with your arms at shoulder height. I'm really realizing it's very hard to judge when they're at shoulder height. And then from there, gather your hands back into prayer pose. Good. Very nice. And at that point, you might be well ready to come down out of your balance and to come back into a forward bend. And again, in that forward bend, you can do sweeping your arms around, or you can just be quiet. So lovely. And then sinking into your heels, rolling up into standing. Couple of movements where we're on the foot. We're going to start with your feet side. You've got a bit of room in front, and just doing a little bit of rock back into the back foot, into the front foot, on all of the back foot. That's nice. And just as you're doing this, sort of sound, feet on the wall. Do a few more times, just rocking forwards and back. Let your arms hang. That's it, good. And then settle your feet down. I'm going to stay where you are, but I'm going to turn forward. So settle your feet down. Maybe just have a look at your feet. You want to have both feet pointing forwards, and bring your hands onto your pelvis for a moment. Because what I'd like you to do here is swing your arms without moving your pelvis. So it's all going to feel a little bit unnatural. You could also turn your head and shoulders, but not your pelvis. Good. So just try and have that sense. What's happening with your pelvis? Is it moving or is it staying put? Yes, if you look at it, it's probably going to start to move around. Good. And then what I'd like you to do is bring your hands into prayer pose in front of your chest. And it's probably helpful to rest your thumbs on your breastbone. And we're going to turn towards the front leg. But again, we're trying not to let the pelvis move. So we're maybe not going to end up turning that far. So the shoulders are turning. The ribs are turning maybe. The head is turning towards the front leg. And when you've turned as far as you can you just try and feel where your shoulders are? And then as you exhale, bring your arms out in line with your shoulders. Okay, good. And perhaps here let the shoulders soften, maybe the palms turn up. Good. have face in direction as your feet, forwards, and then bend your front to rest down on that bent front leg side. So we're coming into a forward bend from here. We've bent the front leg, we've come to rest our forearms on that bent front thigh. If you want, you can go further, so your chest comes close, you release your head. So your front is bent and your back leg straightish. Good. You're just coming into this forward bend. We're going to have a couple of breaths there, and then you'll come back up, sinking into your heels. Good. And then have a little shake out of arms and legs. And then come back to where you're on your mat and step your other foot forwards. And come back to a bit of this rocking forwards and back. Just dropping down into your feet, feeling your feet on the floor, letting the arms be nice and relaxed. So shaking your arms out if that's helpful. And then just as we did on the other side, settle both feet down. Have a look at your feet. So there should be this sort of distance, sideways distance between your feet. Bring your hands onto your pelvis. And then just a bit of swinging your arms, but not moving your pelvis. Good, that's good. So in a little bit, we're going to be doing this same movement. We will move our pelvis. Okay, so that's why I want you to be aware that you're not moving your pelvis right now. Let's try the twisting movement where we had our hands in prayer pose. Good. So remember, you're turning towards your top leg. You're turning your ribs and your shoulders, but not your pelvis. It can help to really sink your back heel into the ground. So that can help to sort of keep your pelvis sort of anchored facing forwards. Yeah. And then when you've turned as far, it might not be that far, as far as you can, just notice where your shoulders are. And then as you exhale, try and bring your arms out in line with your shoulders. And then try and drop the shoulders down away from the ears. So if we bend the elbows a little bit, it might help the shoulders drop down a bit more parallel. Yes, good, very nice, lovely. And then turn back to the center, release your arms, bend your front knee. So you can come to fold forwards over that bent front leg. You can rest your arms, fold down more over that leg, letting your head go, letting your arms go. Good, having a couple of breaths there. And then whenever you're ready, sink down into your heels, come back up into standing. And have a little shake out of your arms and legs. So we'll do a couple of standing balances now. The first one, we're trying to keep the pelvis facing forward. The second one, we're not. So come back to feet side by side. And if you can remember which foot you stepped forward, come and step forward with that foot. So yeah, Sarah, you need to face the long edge of your mat. Oh, do you not want to look at? Oh. Why don't you turn your mat that way? Because you've got the space. Yeah, it's a very good point. No, it's definitely much harder. Penny, you could always do the same thing, turn your mat the other way. So we're just all organising ourselves here so people don't have to look at each other. They're trying to balance. So you're right. I think you've got enough space there to have a mat that way. The old days, I used to have two people there. Okay, so yes, we were shifting our weight forwards and back with one foot stepped forward. And then what you're going to do is settle down here with both feet pointing forwards and the pelvis facing forwards. And you're going to, yes, you don't want to face the mirror either. And then you're going to bring your hands into prayer pose at your breastbone. So this balance is quite familiar to all of us. So we've got the front knee bent. We're bringing our hands into prayer pose, resting the thumbs on the breastbone. And then we're going to shift our weight into our front leg and bring the back leg up, and both knees are bent. So we're in this sort of funny, exaggerated runner position. Bending the back knee. And then you start to reach back behind you with your raised heel. And in response to that, you let your body tip forward, still keeping your pelvis. As you tip forward, your pelvis starts to face the floor rather than forward. And just keep reaching into your back heel. Obviously, if you tip forward, you need to start looking down rather than forwards. Well done. Very nice. That's brilliant. Yeah. Good. Good. And again, like with any balance, if you sort of topple out and you want to try again on the same side, you can do. You don't have to. Yeah, I always think with this one, I like my hands in prayer pose because it just sort of takes the hands out of the way. There's lots of other variations you can do. Very nice. Yeah, well done, Sheila. We'll try the other side when you're ready. So start by stepping the other foot forward. So the foot you just stood on should be your back foot now. And just do some of this rocking your weight forwards and back. Okay, this is just the sort of quietening, calming. Feel your feet on the floor. And when we come into the balance, it's just really important to keep on feeling our foot on the floor, however we might want to try and ignore it, particularly if it feels wobbly. Okay, so settle down, bending your front knee, keeping your back leg straight, bringing your hands into prayer pose at your heart. Okay, yes, making sure this is the second foot you're going to stand on. And then shifting your weight into your front foot. You see that front knee's bent to start with. Bend the back knee, bring that foot off the floor. And then you do, as you start to stretch your raised heel back behind you, you also start to straighten your standing leg, but not lock it. And obviously you start to tip your body forwards a bit. And you try to keep your pelvis facing forward or facing the floor. It's often much harder. I was just thinking on that side, it's much harder. Well done. That's it, Penny. Well done. Keep your hands at the breastbone. That's it. You don't need to worry about them then. Good. Reach into your back heel. Well done. Very nice. Yes. And then when you've had enough, come down, have a little shake out. Oh, yes. So what you do before we come into the next balance, you're going to come into a forward bend and just just have a couple of quiet breaths. So make it a nice relaxing forward bend. It might be bending the knees a little bit. Good. The next balance we're going to do is one that Helen, we did on Friday, and Sheila, you have done on a few. I think we've done it at least on a couple of Fridays. Well, I haven't done it. I don't think we've done it on Monday yet. So yes, rolling up from your forward bend, maybe just having a little shake out. So we're going to be moving into our half moon pose, but we're going to be doing it in a different way that I've only really been doing since summer. So what I'd like you to do is to step one foot forward again, and do a bit of your rocking forwards and back. Okay, and then you're going to settle down, and maybe at this point you can sort of have a look and see, okay, my feet are pointing forwards, my pelvis is pointing forwards. But what I want you to now do is start to just turn towards your back leg. So you're letting your pelvis turn in the direction of your back leg. Now, if I do that, I then want to start to turn my back foot out a little bit because that knee feels a bit more comfortable. So if I'm turning my pelvis towards my back leg, if you like, you're turning your foot out. Good. And then it might be at this point, I sometimes then think, okay, I want to set my front foot a little bit further forward. So that's another option. And we're going to bend the front knee and then float the arms up to shoulder height. Yes, Penny, I'm just wondering whether it might be good for you to be doing the other way round. So you can see what's going on. I should have said that sooner. Good, so we're in this position here where we're really big and expansive. So I've been saying to other classes, you feel like a big sail here, or this half moon pose we're going into, but you feel like the full moon at this point. And then what we start to do is just start to shift our weight onto the front foot. We're trying to keep our arms as they are. And then we're tilting our weight forward. So one arm starts to reach up and the other arm starts to come down towards the floor. And it might, our fingertips come down all the way to the floor. They might not, but we want to keep this sort of big, expansive feeling. Well, it's very wobbly. When you start doing it this way, which is why it's like in the summer, you think, oh my goodness, it's so wobbly. Yes, Penny, you look like you needed to move away from the... I'm just worried you're going to end up with your fingers in the candle. Let me use that. Or the sunflowers. Let's try again on the same side. As Sarah was saying, this one is, you can feel really wobbly. So come back to this position where you've got one foot pointing forwards, the other foot out to the side. Remember, your pelvis is turned towards your back leg, and then your arms are at shoulder height. And you're just trying to keep this sort of big, expansive, sail-like, moonlight shape as you tip forward. So eventually one arm is coming up towards the ceiling, and maybe your middle finger comes to the floor, maybe not. But and then have a little mini breather. That's it, very nice. Now so going into it this way can feel more wobbly than other ways, but have a little drink of water maybe before we do the other side, but it also can feel quite expansive and light. So this is something I've been practicing and teaching a bit since the summer, when a friend was, when I was camping, a friend was saying to me, well, this is the only way I can do it. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So let's try the other side. So come back to all the nice easy bits of stepping one foot forward. So yeah, this time, Penny, I think you want the other foot stepped forward, don't you? So you're turning away, because you know what you're doing now. You don't need to look. So a little bit of rocking forwards and back with one foot stepped forward. And then remember, what we're doing with this balance, once we settle our feet down, is that we're letting our pelvis turn. So we're starting by sort of turning towards our back leg. We can swing our arms, but we want our pelvis to come with us. And then we probably want to take the back foot with us as well. Because if my pelvis is turning to the side, my knee is going to feel happier if my foot also turns to the side. And then at this point, if you want to have your front foot a little bit further forward, you can do. I mean, that's really personal. And bend the front knee, because we're going to be taking our weight into that front foot. And then at this point, just take your arms wide at shoulder height, drop your shoulders down, and then we've got this big expanse, this big sail-like, I think, sail on a ship, or this full moon, and we're just then trying to tilt forwards, tip forwards, controlling. I'm moving now. I'm just there now, Penny. It might be good that you can take your fingers to the sofa. Yes. So yes, if like Penny, you sort of encounter a sofa or a chair under your fingertips, or if your back heel meets a wall, these things can all be helpful, yeah? And you can do this pose with, if you have got a sort of wall space where you are, you can do this pose with a wall behind you that obviously makes it, what is it? It's rather hot here, isn't it? I'm just going to have my heating off actually, before we all overheat. So if you want to try this once more on that side, you can do. Otherwise, you are, what are we doing? I've got one, yes, you're coming into a forward bend. We're nearly going to be ready to, that's very nice, Sheila. Yeah, well done. Good. So yes, if you think, okay, I've had enough of balancing, come into a quiet forward bend. If you want to do some of your weeping willow movement, sweeping your arms around, you can do. Let your head go. And if it gets too cold with the windows open, let me know. But, yeah. Okay. You don't get too rash there. And then, Mel, that's what we're doing. So from your forward bend, you're going to roll back up into standing. And you're just going to then do a bit of, one last time, a bit of reaching up. So it could be reaching up through one arm and then the other, It could be reaching up with both arms up, but obviously you just reach into one arm. And you can be looking forwards, or you could be sort of looking up as you reach up. But obviously, if you look up, just make sure your neck is happy with that. And then when you've had enough reaching up, then one last sweeping forward into a forward bend. And then, yes, the much promised lying down. So you can make your own way into lying. So yes, you could go for a squat. If you're in a forward bend, you could just lie down. That's fine. Now, I'm just wondering, I think maybe turn your mat the other way, because we're going to be hopefully revisiting those not leg positions, arm positions. Yeah, so it's here, move their mats around, but if your mat's where it was beginning of class, it would be fine. So first of all, we're going to do a few twisty things. So if you settle down onto your backs with your knees bent, and yeah, we're just going to, we're going to do a few twisty things, focusing on the pelvis and the legs, and then we'll come back to the arms and the shoulders. Benny, just let me know if it does get drafty and you want the windows shut. It's lovely now, isn't it? So that's it, yes, Sheila. So when you've settled down onto your back and you've had a couple of quiet breaths, you're then going to bend your knees, stand your feet on the floor, and come to tilting your knees to the right and to the left. That's it. So just coming to this familiar movement, that's very nice. Seeing how it feels in your body to let the knees tilt to the right and to the left. And then just pause in the middle and take your feet a bit wider. So your feet are as wide as the narrow edge of your mat. And then come to carry on with the tilting of your knees with your feet as wide as the narrow edge of your mat, and just see how this feels. So with this one, particularly the knee that's going out to the side, just make sure you're going, just explore where you can go with this one. But if possible, in a moment, you're going to take your knees all the way down to the side, but you might need a cushion under one of your knees. What's it like for this knee to come further out to the side, Penny, when you go to the fire way? Yeah, that's it. Good. So let your knees come all the way down to one side. And yeah, if it's comfortable, leave them there. And then we're going to one stage further, which is always, so actually, if everyone takes their knees down to the right, it's probably going to be maybe slightly less confusing. Will I talk you into the next stage? So your knees are going down to the right. You're feeling your left shoulder is heavy on the floor, and your left shoulder is going to stay heavy on the floor, okay? And then what I'd like you to do is start to draw your left knee in towards your chest, and bring your right hand towards your left knee. Good. So you're trying to, that's it. You want to be dropping your left knee. So too many left and right, Sarah. So if you bring your left knee towards your right hand, that's it, good. So you're trying to get that fit. You're encouraging the left knee to drop down towards the floor on the right. I think we're all there, actually. It probably won't reach the floor. If your left shoulder, so Sarah, let your left shoulder come back to the floor. Yeah, so number one thing is left shoulder stays on the floor. If you get that knee a bit closer to your chest, that would help. So the first thing is you bring the knee up towards your chest. That's it. And then you sort of think about it coming down towards the floor. So what I tend to do in this one is make a little shelf for my knee. So I've got my right elbow on the floor, and then my right hand is making a little shelf to support the left knee. That's it. That's it. That may or may not works for you. Good. Good. And just make sure your left shoulder is settled on the floor. And whenever you've had enough here, you can just roll back onto the back of your pelvis and perhaps either lengthen your legs out on the floor or take your legs up to the ceiling and give them a shake out for a moment before we do the other side. And so yeah, I'm sorry about the left and right. It's trying to avoid it as much as I can. Okay, so come back to bending your knees, standing your feet on the floor, and your feet being wide as the narrow edge of your mat. That's it. And let your knees tilt from side to side a couple of times. And then let your knees come all the way down to the floor on the left. Good. And then just feel your right shoulder on the floor. So the legs are coming over to the left, and you want to feel your right shoulder in contact with the floor, and that shoulder wants to stay there. Good. And then you're starting to draw your right knee in towards your chest. So that's movement number one. The right knee comes in towards the chest. That's it. And then you start to make contact between your left hand and your right knee. And you start to think about the right knee coming back towards the floor on the left side. But you're probably, again, it's not going to reach the floor. You maybe make that little shelf. Your left elbow's on the floor. Your left hand makes the little shelf for the knee. Come back and check in with your right shoulder. You might like to let your head roll towards your right shoulder to help keep that shoulder settled on the ground. Aditi, what's it like if you bring your knee a bit more in towards your chest? That rectal, yeah, even higher. Can it come higher towards the chest or not really? Yes, that's it. That's it. I don't know if it was better where it was before, then put it back where it was before. I'm just suggesting. Good. And then again, when you've had enough, you can roll out. You can lengthen your legs out. That's it. Tap legs long on the ground. Yes, we do a bit of legs long, and also fold your knees into your chest if you like. Just come to a little bit of rocking with your knees folded into your chest. Okay, yes, if you folded your knees into your chest and you want to take your legs up to the ceiling, give them a little shake out, you can do. And then we're just going to do a little bit of work with bridge pose. So when you've done all of that, settle yourself down with your feet on the ground and your feet in a place where it's going to be, a good place for you to sink into your feet and let your pelvis come up into bridge. And I think rest your arms on the floor beside you. So what you're going to do to start with is just sort of 2 or 3 quite easy bridge poses. So how does it feel to sink down into your feet, to let your pelvis and some of your spine come away from the floor? And keep it easy and comfortable. We've done a lot of forward bends today. So when we come into bridge pose, it's a bit of opening through the front of the body, which is a nice contrast. The sort of opening through the front of the pelvis. 2 or 3 times. Okay, so next time your pelvis comes back onto the floor, just settle it down. And you're then going to bring your hands around the back of your head and interlink your fingers. So we're going to alternate between doing these little, dare I say it, mini sit-ups. So from here, you're going to exhale, lift your head, look between your legs, and lift your arms as well. Sorry, Penny, use your arms to help lift your head. Look between your legs and also try and tilt your pelvis slightly. You're tipping your pelvis towards your head. Come back down, release your arms and go into bridge pose. So we're going to try and do this 6 times, alternating between the little mini sit-up and bridge pose, because this is a sort of pair of movements. So that's 1. If you draw your elbows in there as you come up, and maybe look a little bit more. That's nice. Yeah, very nice. That's it. So as you lift your head and you look between your legs, see if you can also tip your pelvis towards your head. You don't need to stay there long. You don't need to make it into too much of a workout. That's it. Come down, come into bridge pose. The one thing I would say about your little mini sit-up is to come into it as you exhale. Come into it as you exhale. You could come back down as you breathe in, or you could stay up for a breath and then come back down. Okay, I think that was number 3, and then on into bridge pose. We're all doing it at slightly different speeds, so it's fine. I just know when I'm doing yoga, I think counting to any more than 3, I lose track. That's it, good. Good. And you just see if you can relax your toes and your right foot. Yes, that's it. Good. I think we just have a couple more to do, don't we, to come to 6. Remember, use the out breath. That's well done for tilting of the pelvis. And use the out breath to bring you into your little mini sit-up. If you finished, that's fine. You could fold your knees into your chest, if you like. This helps me know that you finished, actually. If you're still completing your 6 little sit-ups and 6 bridge poses, then just take your time. There's no rush. And then what you're going to do in your own time, and you can do this either with your, even with your legs long or your knees bent and feet standing on the floor. So yeah, you've got to have your legs on the floor, either with your knees bent or your legs long. I'd like you to revisit those arm positions we did right at the beginning of class. So arms at shoulder height, and you can have a couple of breaths there. And if that all feels easy, you can then take your arms to that sort of 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock position. See how that feels. And just, we can't always remember how we felt at the beginning of class, but just see how these arm positions feel. You can then take your arms up to the position where they came nearer to your head. And just see, yeah, how they feel there. And then what I'd like you to do is choose one of these positions to keep your arms in. And if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And you're going to see how it feels to come into bridge pose with your arms in this position. So perhaps a couple of times, rolling up and down into bridge pose. If you want to play around, if you want to move between the different arm positions, you can do. So that's it. No, I would say palms up, probably, yeah. So just, wherever you want to, what's it like to come into bridge pose with your arms? They could be at shoulder height, they could be at that sort of 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock position, they could be nearer to your head. What we often might find as we roll up in bridge pose is the arms actually feel more comfortable the more our spine comes away from the floor. I want your feet slightly wider apart, Penny, actually. So yeah, try a couple of bridge poses with the arms here. You can leave the arms in the same place, just giving your arms this opportunity to really settle, or it could be trying a couple of the different positions. That's nice. Yes, and then exactly like you're doing, Sheila, when you've done this a couple of times, folding your knees into your chest. And before we finish, we're just going to 3 times from having our knees folded into our chest. We're going to take our arms and legs up to the ceiling with a humming breath. So not a buzzing breath. I've been having this great sort of debate with myself and other yoga teachers about what breathing practices are safe to do at the moment. And so if we do a humming, sort of humming sound in the back of our throat, if you're at home, you can obviously do whatever you like at home on your own. You could do buzzing, but we're going to do humming here. So if you let a breath come in, and then with the humming sound, we take our arms and legs to the ceiling and shake them out. And then fold your knees back into your chest. Let another breath come in. Fold the knees in again one last time, breathing in. And just settling yourselves down on your back. Let's see how we're doing time-wise. I think we might have, we'll have another 3 cycles of humming breath once we're lying down. I've just got to plug my laptop in so it doesn't run out of charge. So settle down to your back. How you use those windows, Penny? Still okay? You're the one mainly in the potential grass. Okay, so settling down onto your back, you can have your hands on your belly or your arms out by the side, or you could have your palms over your eyes if you like that one. And again, we're going to have 3 cycles of that humming breath. So we'll let the breath come in. And again, breathing in. And one last time. Just settling for a few quiet cycles of breath, and I shall ring the singing bowl in a moment. So thank you. Aditi, I can see you need to get off to work. So bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Thank you, Sheila. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Helen. Bye.